back and forth for the rest of the battle until the German reinforcements arrived and the Americans were running out of ammunition. So with the advantage for the Brits, the battle ended essentially a draw. Gates wrote Congress of the battle at Freeman's Farm, praising Henry Dearborn and primarily Morgan, and didn't even mention Benedict Arnold. This led to a heated argument, and he relieved Arnold, his best commander, of command. Abraham Drake, including Moses Leavitt's company, arrived from Northampton probably between October 1st and October 5th. It was fall in New England and cold and rainy. They had talked to some of their comrades that had just faced the British in battle, and they knew that there was another battle coming and that they would be against the formidable armies of Britain and Germany. Yet the men drank rum, and they sang, and they were of good spirits, but to such an extent that the sentries complained that they made such a noise they wouldn't be able to hear the enemy as they approach. So Horatio Gates put in an early curfew. Burgoyne waited 18 days after the battle at Freeman's Farm for reinforcements and supplies that never came. At 11 o'clock in the morning, he sent a reconnaissance team out of 1,500 of his finest officers and soldiers to try to find out where the Americans were. And knowing, they didn't realize they were only 3/4 of a mile away from the base camp. So again, excuse me, an American scout saw them exposed in the field. They were in a field that had embankments of woods and high hills that just had them trapped, really, in this field. So he rode up to Gates and told him that the enemy had presented themselves. Gates was convinced by one of his generals not to just send Morgan out as he originally thought, but send Morgan to the British right flank and send Enoch Poor to the British left flank and send Learned, including Abraham Drake and Moses Leavitt's company, up the middle to engage the Germans. The battle began at 3 o'clock. An hour later, Benedict Arnold could wait no longer to join the fight. With no troops to command, he rode swiftly into Morgan's brigade and pointed out Fraser, the highly revered and much-loved leader of the British infantry. Morgan commanded one of his best riflemen to kill the man on the gray horse. His first shot struck Fraser through the heart. I'm sorry, third shot. Third time's a charm. This loss disheartened Fraser's men. Then Arnold crossed the field to the center, where Learned's brigade, or Moses Leavitt and Abraham Drake, were engaging in brutal combat with the Germans. He galloped forward, brandishing his sword, heightening the spirit of these courageous troops, and accidentally wounded an American captain. But this didn't stop him. He went right on. He was shot in the right foot, and then his horse fell on his right leg, breaking his femur, and it was the same leg he had broken in the French and Indian Wars. And he shouted to a man in attendance that he'd wish he'd been shot in the heart. And then he fell unconscious. Being part of Learned's brigade, it's very possible that Captain Leavitt's militia witnessed this event. Gates sent in reinforcements, leaving only 1,000 to guard the base camp. Now the British were outnumbered 6 to 1. The British retreated, having suffered 600 casualties to our 150. By 6 p.m., just 3 hours after the battle started, Burgoyne buried Fraser, left his campfires burning, abandoned his field hospital of 300 injured. Being unaware of Stark's position, Burgoyne began a retreat northward.